Welcome back to the channel. My name's Paul Fix III, and today we're reviewing the 2019 Prius C. Now, if you're in the market for a subcompact car and you really want a hybrid, well, this is actually your only option. So let's take a look at what makes it great and why you may consider looking elsewhere. Stay tuned. Is this thing working? Okay, so the first thing you may be thinking is, you're out in the snow in a hybrid? Yes, I am actually, and the car hasn't been that bad. The Prius C has these skinny little tires and 99 horsepower, so it's kind of hard to get out of its own way, and we'll get back to that in a minute. But it's actually done fairly well in the snow. Something I want to point out are the headlamps. They are LEDs and they light up the road fairly well. The DRLs are the LEDs just on a low mode, so if you're looking for a secondary light or fog light somewhere, you're not going to find them. Bing. Twang. Did you get that on camera? Yeah. That's fantastic. Do you hear that twang? That's the sound of affordable metal. Toyota was generous enough to provide us with this prop rod, which you can put in two different places to hold up the hood. Very nice. There are two motors inside this bay. There's a small 4-cylinder engine that puts out well under 100 horsepower and a battery motor that puts out also well under 100 horsepower. Combined, they make a whopping 99 horsepower. Wait. Ooh. While we're here by the logo on the back of the car, I wanted to tell you a little bit more about what the Prius name actually means on the Prius C. So the car was so popular when it was first launched that they eventually expanded it into a family of vehicles, including the Prius C, which is based on the Yaris chassis. Because this car is named C for city, is the perfect size to go around town and get great fuel economy. You are looking at 48 in the city, 43 on the highway, 46 combined MPG. And as long as you drive really economically, safely, and slowly, which is best done in a city, you're going to actually see those numbers. Visibility is very good in this vehicle, except for one place, and that's the rear window, because unfortunately, Toyota decided to put this really tiny little wiper blade here, which barely covers, I want to say, half of the rear window, but that's fine. The visibility is not too terrible. Let's look at the trunk real quick. Storage space, quite a lot in comparison to some other vehicles in the segment. It's got a little bit more size, and for a subcompact, I mean, you're not really concerned about how much space you have because you can always put down the rear seats. And if you really wanted more space, then you wouldn't be buying a subcompact. So for what you're getting, it's very good. Inside the 2019 Prius C, you'll see that it's very simple. And I think that's one of the parts of its charm. Lots of hard touch plastics with noises, little fun compartments, places to put your phone, like right in front of the steering wheel, a little spot for your keys. A very simple Entune system. It's actually the last generation system that they have not yet updated. Acceleration is slow. We're still not at speed yet. We're still not at speed yet. We're still not at speed yet. 60 miles an hour. Okay, that is brutally slow, but that's not what it's meant for. This is not a fast car. This is not like an NSX where you pair together a hybrid engine and a gas engine and all of a sudden it's the fastest thing. No, this is for getting around and maximizing fuel economy, so it doesn't need to be fast. I shouldn't say it has the best fuel economy because the C's bigger brother, the standard Prius, gets 5 mpg more on average than the C. So why would you buy one of these? Well, I think it's if you really wanted a hybrid and you want a great fuel economy, because in the subcompact segment, this gets the best fuel economy. It's not the most fun and it's not the most premium, but the C definitely holds its own. It has this very traditional, what we expect from a Prius, instrument cluster, which is more like a series of screens that tell you everything that's going on, with no actual dials, which I'm a little sad about because I like the analog speedometer and tachometer. Now, the biggest place where I think Toyota missed the mark is not having Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. Now, this has been known for years throughout the Toyota lineup, and they just started putting these systems into newer Toyotas in the last year or two. I think when Toyota decides next to update the Yaris and the Prius C, seeing as they're built on the same chassis, then we will see the upgraded Entune 3 system with Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. But until then, the media functions actually work perfectly well, and there's also Bluetooth, so you can talk while you're driving and keep your hands on the wheel. Now, do you hear that sound? Neither do I, because the Prius C accelerates in EV mode and decelerates in EV mode within a certain mile/hour range, and then the engine kicks on to actually give you some power to accelerate. The EV mode also activates when you are reversing to minimize energy use. Because the Prius C uses so much battery power, accelerating, decelerating, reversing, you would think, okay, how does it recharge? Well, there's no plug-ins, so it uses a regenerative system through the brakes and through the flywheel on the engine. This means that the brakes are really grippy, or at least more grippy than other cars like it. And I would highly recommend you go and test drive the Prius C so you can get a feel for it and see whether or not you like it. That regenerative flywheel also sends energy back to the battery, recharging it, and that is hooked up to a continuously variable transmission, which if you ask any of my fellow journalists, they'll say they don't really like it. However, it does get great fuel economy. Let's take a look at the back seat, shall we?
Well, Paul, the back seat is really tight. There's very little leg room, there's very little headroom and shoulder room, and if you're sitting in the center, because it does hold 3 people, you're really squished back here.
Okay, thanks, Lauren. What's interesting about the seating position of the Prius C is it feels kind of like a RAV4 in that it feels kind of upright, but the seats are moderately comfortable. They have very minimal manual adjustment and absolutely zero lumbar. It is not lumbar approved, as Lauren would say, but I've actually vacated her from the back seat so we could go drive around, just you and me. I'd like to complain about some of the buttons very quickly. I normally wear gloves in the winter when I drive, and these buttons feel like they're off of an early 2000s smartphone. You know, like the Envy or the Razor, where the buttons were kind of all in one membrane, and if you were wearing gloves, it was impossible to just hit one button. You'd always hit 2 or 3 buttons. These are kind of what the buttons on the steering wheel feel like. So I don't think they're very good for using while you're driving unless you're not wearing your gloves, but I don't think it's a huge problem most of the time. It's just something I'd like to point out. Road noise is minimal when at low speeds, using mostly electric power, not using a lot of engine power. But once you get up to highway speeds, then the noise really ramps up. It starts to get astronomical as all of the wind is whipping around and the engine's trying really hard to keep you moving, and that's when it starts to become annoying. If you don't really go on the highway that much, though, I don't think it'd be much of a problem for you. So who is this car for? I would say it's for the younger generation, people that are living in the city or want really great fuel economy. They're trying to save money. On this trip alone, I've only used 15 cents of gas driving around town. That's incredible. The 2019 Prius C is a fantastic vehicle if you're looking for something compact with great fuel economy and is really good for the city. However, if you're looking to save some bucks, then maybe this is not the place to look. Try to take a look at some of its competitors, go to your local dealerships and test drive them before you make your final decision. But if you really want a hybrid, this is the one for you. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to see more of what we do, check out our latest video right here. If you want to take a break and see what YouTube recommends, check out right there. And if you want to subscribe, it's right there. Stay tuned for more awesome stuff coming up soon, and we'll see you next time.